I'm Melanie Trailer, and welcome back to the Checkie Quilt Along. We are on week 4. So, real quick, our sponsors this week are Autumn Moon Quilting, Brown Eyed Quilter, and Everyday Modern Quilts. And yes, we are giving away long arm prizes. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about this at the end of the video. If this is the first time you're hearing about these quilt alongs and you want to jump in, or you are hearing about them really late and you want to go back and go at your own pace, all of these videos will remain on my website. I'll put a link to everything right below this video. Week 4, our task is to make our final set of blocks. I'm going to put a slide up now that tells you how many blocks you're making based on the quilt size you're working on. We've gone over demos. We've gone over demos for, the 3 blocks at a time. We've gone over a demo for batch sewing where we covered all the blocks all at once. So if you are wanting help with that, you can go back and watch week 2 and week 3. This week, we don't really have many demos. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and put my blocks on my design wall. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. So let's jump in. Okay, I have gone ahead and finished all of my blocks for week 4. And let me put a slide on here that tells you how many strip sets that you're going to make this time. So what I wanted to do is kind of shift the focus for when you are done with all your blocks for week 4. So let's say you just finished all your blocks. And what you're seeing behind me is a design wall. I made this with foam core board. I taped, I think, some large sets of foam core board together with just duct tape. And then I took a huge piece of batting, wrapped it around the foam core board, taped it to the back of the foam core board, and nailed the whole thing up here. So while it was not difficult and very inexpensive, it's bulky and hard to move. So I'm glad I don't have to do it again. But it wasn't that painful, and it really provides me with a place to lay all these blocks out, which is really, really handy. But it doesn't matter whether you have a design wall, if you're laying your blocks out on a table, if you have them laid out in the floor. Either way, you're going to lay out your blocks. And ideally, that you can let them sit there for days, all right? So as soon as you're done making your blocks, lay them out and sit there until we are ready for week 5. And as you walk by these blocks, every time I come by here, I'm going to look at them and something's going to jump out at me. So the first time you lay them out, you don't see everything. You might see, oh, I need to space my browns out because that's my darkest color. I need to make sure my blues are evenly spaced out. The longer you look at this thing, the more you see, right? There is no wrong way to lay your blocks out. So you lay them out however you want to. You might be doing an ombre thing. That's fine. There's all kinds of styles that you can go about laying your blocks out. So do that as you will. I'm just saying, let them sit there for a while. Obviously, if they're on the floor or they're on a surface that you use a lot, it's going to be an issue. But kind of lay them out as long as you can. Keep them out at least. That way more things jump out at you. So it just kind of gives you more time to look at something. And the longer we take to look at it, the more we find that could be better. For me, I'm using, a bunch of pastels, a bunch of lighter colors, a bunch of pinks and oranges. And my pinks and oranges are not my biggest worry here. My biggest worry are my dark brown blocks. And these are eye grab blocks because they're darker than all the other colors. So for me, and the style quilt I want, is I want to make sure that all of those brown blocks get evenly dispersed throughout the quilt. And they're not all sitting, right here in this part of the quilt or in one half of the quilt. I want to make sure they're spread out evenly. So I'm going to go ahead and lay my blocks out and then take a step back and let you watch me move them around to better locations. blocks are now on the wall. And you can see that my design wall is not long enough. So 3 blocks, or 3 rows of blocks are on the floor, and I've just kind of got them scooched up there as close as I could get them. That's okay. We just make do with what we have. But I'm already seeing an issue with that brown. I've got a whole bunch of browns right here. You might not could see them. And I need to get those a little bit evenly spaced. So that's what I was talking about. I'll sit here and look at this a little bit each day, or just as I pass by, and things will grab your eye, and that's when you move them. That's the best time to move them. So I'm going to spend this next week doing that, just leaving these here, leaving these alone, you know, and seeing what my eye finds and move them around the best I can. The more fabrics you use, the easier this task is going to be, because you're going to see a bunch of scattered prints, versus if you used a very small amount of fabrics, you might see things a little bit squished together. One more thing I wanted to talk about. So in your pattern, it kind of has your block going like this, and I'm on a camera, so I don't know if it's going to mirror image this look to me, but if you're staring at your block, your light is in your right top corner and your dark is in your left top corner. It doesn't matter which way you do it, all right? But whatever you choose, do it the same for every one. So if I'm going to do it this way, I need to make sure all my blocks are this way. If I'm going to do it this way, I need to make sure all my blocks are this way. That way you get that checkerboard look, if the checkerboard look is what you're going for. If it's not what you're going for, you can disregard it at all. But for me, I kind of wanted to make sure that they were all going the same direction and they weren't getting mix and matchy. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to talk about in this video, and we're going to get to the prizes. But as far as demos, we'll be back for week 5, and we'll sew all of them together and have a finished quilt top then. Okay, let's talk prizes. There are going to be 3 winners this week, so you have until Thursday at noon Central Standard Time to enter this giveaway. Details for how to enter and all the little extras are going to be in the email for week 4. So check that email out. You got to scroll towards the bottom and do the things you need to do to get entered. I have really enjoyed seeing all of your blogs on Instagram. If you're on Instagram or even Facebook, you can use the hashtag CheckieQuilt or hashtag StashWorkQAL and connect with me and other participants there. There is some beautiful quilts being made on those hashtags, and I'm happy to see it. And I'm loving all your comments about how quickly this quilt uses up stash and how quick it's moving, how quick those large amounts of blocks are going. Anyway, have fun making your last set of blocks. I will see you next week when we start putting them all together.